Now then, crew, welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. And we've got the 2022 Honda Monkey 125cc on the hoist. Now, this is Mrs. Mechanic's new bike. And if all goes to plan, she's going to be riding it from Cape Reinga all the way to Bluff, zigzagging her way down the north and then the South Island of New Zealand via many gravel roads, mountain tracks, rivers and all sorts of bits and pieces. That's all going to happen next year around March. However, even though it's a Honda Monkey and they're a very small motorcycle, the seat height is still a little bit too high for her. Yes, she's quite petite, but she's a great rider, to be honest. She thoroughly enjoys riding motorcycles, but it's quite hard to find her a bike that she can ride safely, i.e. with her feet on the ground. So when we got the bike, we did a test fit. She jumped on it and instantly realized the seat height was too high. So I have already slid the front forks as much as I dare, but the back end is still to be worked on. I adjusted the shocks, but even then it was nowhere near enough. So I spoke to my mates down at Eurobike in New Plymouth, and they can produce aftermarket shocks to basically whatever length you want. So I said, look, can you help me with the Monkey? And they said, yes, of course we can. So they got some shocks sent to me within 2 days of the phone call, which I thought was fantastic. They got them built up the same day that I rang. Top service. So in the post arrived the shocks. So let's take a quick look, and then we'll get them fitted to the bike, and then we'll see if that solves the problem. Here we go. Used.
You don't paint something without working.
Honestly. Hagen shocks from the UK. Awesome stuff. Right, what have we got? C-spanner. Excellent. Not like we haven't got enough of those, but another one's always good. And, oh, there we are. Look, very nice. Super small shocks, aren't they? Very cool. Right, that's that one. And hopefully this one's the same. We've got, rather than go for black, went for chrome because chrome looks cool on bikes and it's more sort of, you know, original. So this is what we need to fit to the bike. Hopefully the eyelet sizes are all correct and everything. I think they should be. I did quote all that to the chap down there when he built them up. So fingers crossed, we're going to be good to go. Right, let's go have a look at the bike and see what needs to be done. Okay, where are we at? So on this side, I think the exhaust is going to have to come off. We've got very little clearance, so when we undo that the nut there at the top, we're not going to be able to move the shock off the top mount. It's going to catch the exhaust. So the exhaust's got to come off, and it looks like, a quick look earlier on, yes, we've got a mounting point just down there for the exhaust, and I reckon there's probably another one hiding behind there. So I think chrome cover off, and we'll take a look at that. Now the exhaust is split into a couple of pieces, and we can split that just here, look, on this little clamp joint just there. So that should be nice and easy. Hopefully the gasket will be intact. Now on the other side, just going around to the left hand side of the bike, this side, super easy, nothing in the way at all. So let's focus on the exhaust side first. Okay, let me get the jack under the bike and then we can start taking that exhaust off and get the shocks ripped off. Here we go. Now it looks like there's only one fastener to hold this whole chrome heat shield in place, which is pretty cool. Makes life nice and easy. Right. Oh, that was so easy. Okay, so we've got 3 rubberized mounts down here, look, that fit inside little tags. Hang on, there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3. There we are. 1 there, 2 at the top. Cool, that's out of the way. Now we've got access now to this mount up here, and one down here, and we also need to loosen that clamp. So let's loosen the clamp first, and then we're going to do these top mounts. Great work on a brand new bike, isn't it? Whoa, that's tight. It's really tight on the threads. You see the stress on the back of the mount there, look. I reckon that'll be enough. Okay, up to the top. Jeez, that was tight. There we go. Coolio, top one. Right, said Fred. I think this is the last mount. Looking pretty loose. Now, are both bolts the same size? They are. Perfect. Identical bolts. That's what we like. Okay, exhaust off. Easy. Now, these nice dome nuts are a 14mm. So we'll get those cracked off. There we go. Now, sometimes the washer layout's a bit different top to bottom, so just take note of that when you're swapping shocks around on a motorcycle. Okay, there's the nuts, and here we've got a small washer and a large penny washer. Okay, we'll stick that on the table. And down the bottom, we've only got the large penny washer. There's no small washer on that one. Very strange. Okay, that's the bottom one. Right, shock coming out. And at the top, we've got a washer at the back, but at the bottom, there's no washer. Okay, right, got our first shock off. This is one of the original shocks from Honda. Let's take a look and see how this compares to the ones we've been sent. Oakley dokley. So we've got the original and the aftermarket. Now, clearly, there's a big difference in size. Look at that. There's a hell of a drop in length. So let's measure up and see what the difference really is. This should result in a drastic reduction in seat height, hopefully. Now, the new shock is approximately eye to eye, and these are a 10mm eyelet, eye to eye 270mm. The original shock is significantly longer. This one is, geez, about 335mm, give or take. Yeah, so a massive difference. 335 down to, what was this one again? I've forgotten. 270. So that's 65mm less in length. Okay, now we're going to take the other shock off first before we can fit these on, because obviously, you know, the gap's too big at the moment. Now, when you're looking to change the shock absorbers on the back of your motorcycle, for whatever reason, there's a number of different things you've got to take into account. Your spring rating, the fully compressed length of the shock when it's fully bottomed out under load or impact, and also how much space you've got between the rear tyre, the top of the rear tyre, and the underside of the mudguard. Because when the shock's fully compressed, the last thing you want is that tyre to rub on the guard. That would be bad. There's often wiring under there for the backlights and stuff, and it would just rip it all out really quickly. Plus, it is actually a warrant fail here in New Zealand if the tyres catch any kind of bodywork. So we need to be sure. And I'm not 100% sure that these are going to work at this point in time. We sort of made an educated guess on what the maximum length of the shocks could be. If they do bottom out, if the tyre catches the guard before the shocks are fully bottomed out, then I can send them back to Eurobike and they can put some additional spacers in there to limit the travel of the shock even further. Hopefully it's going to be okay. Let's go and measure that gap now in standard format, and then we'll measure it again once the shocks are fitted. Here we go. So the gap we're looking at is top of the tyre to this. Actually got a plastic insert to protect the wiring, but there's definitely wiring under there. So that gap there is what we're interested in at the moment. So I thought we'd use one of these just to measure that gap, and then we can refer it to the ruler afterwards. So that feels about right. We'll just lock that off. Yep, that's reasonably tight. Okay, back to the bench. Oakley dokley. Right, one ruler. Let's get rid of the shocks for a second. Don't need those at the moment. And the distance is that distance there. So this is standard. We've got basically 130 millimeters available. Stick it on the cardboard. There we go. Whilst we're at the bench, we can take a look at the new shocks, because I want to know how much these are going to compress by. So we've got some idea that once they're fitted, that once that compression distance is deducted from the gap between the top of the tyre and the mudguard, basically, there's still some clearance. We want at least 10 millimeters, absolute minimum, because of course the tyre is going to get rocks and mud and stuff on it, and you don't want it running too tight, otherwise it's going to start to scour that plastic guard. Okay, sorry, plastic inner guard, should I say. Right, so on the shock here we've got a damper, a rubber donut, a bump stop, we call that. So I'm just going to slide that up very carefully without scratching the piston rod, because that would be bad. It would cause the seal to fail. I'm just going to bring that all the way to the top. There we go, look. Nearly there. And then what we'll do is we'll measure the distance from the underside of that bump stop. And obviously, normally they live at the top, and that's where they end up as soon as the shock compresses. It's only down a bit because it's just been built. There we go, look. Right, that's always the top. There's not a lot. Let's get that measured up, and then we'll put that on the board as well. Okay, again, only approximate, but it's going to give us an idea. Sure, the rubber will compress slightly as well when it does bottom out, so we need to account for that a little bit. But we've got on there, yeah, I would say 40 millimeters. That's not much, is it? 40 millimeters of travel on the shock, plus the compression of the bump stop. So we add another 5 mil to that, say 45 millimeters of maximum compression on this shock. Okay, 45 mil. Jeez. That's like a tiny amount of travel, isn't it? Right, so new shock travel is 45 millimeters. Just good to get it now while we've got it off the bike. We might need to refer to that. Right, next job is to remove that remaining original shock absorber, and then we can lower the bike down a little bit until we get the distance between the two mounting pins lined up with the length of the new shocks. We can then pop those on, and then we can get some idea of the gap between the tyre and the mudguard. Be interested to see if the spaces are the same on this side as the other side. Right, so let's crack these off. There we go. Okay, so at the bottom we've got the nut and again a single spacer. And at the top, yes, we've got the same configuration again. We've got two washers at the top, one small and one large in diameter. Cool. Okay, we should be able to pull this off. There shouldn't be any load on it at all. Well, there we go. Right, and again we've got the inner washer. Super. Now I'm going to put a little bit of grease, some special grease on there, some aluminium based grease, just to preserve these, because it's just bare metal. That's not ideal. There should be some kind of lubricant on there. Excellent. Not too concerned about the threads. I don't want the nut to come loose, but I do want some on the actual spigot bit itself. There we go. And the same again for the top mount. Like I say, it doesn't need a lot, but it should have some. It shouldn't just be dry. There we go. Right, let's get the bike lowered a bit so we can line up those eyelets. Is that going to be enough? I don't know. Nope. Oh my word, we've got heaps further to go, yeah. That seat's coming down lots, isn't it? Almost there. Oh, we're very, very close. There we go. Maybe a fraction more. Hang on a minute, where's me dewy up thing? I think we're overshot. Seems very tight on there. Does it go on? Oh, it's the actual eyelet itself. Oh, it's got some rubber in it. Hang on. Bear with me, live TV and all that. Right, a little slither of rubber that was stopping it from going on. That one's clear. Let's try again. Right, down a fraction. There we go. Now, what's going on there? Oh, there's a burr. Jeez, I could feel a burr on that. It's not the eyelets, it's the actual... Yeah, look at that. That's terrible. I'll have to get my file out. Really was not expecting that at all. We'll just clear off that grease because all the metal particles will stick to that. I'll get me file. The hell? There we go, all focused up. Right, so the burr is just at the end of the threads. So I'm just going to very lightly just try and take that off. You really wouldn't expect that on a new bike, would you? So maybe the original shocks had a little bit of movement. You know, the tube was slightly larger, fraction larger, and it just rode over that burr quite easily. That feels a lot better. I'll give it a try. A test fit before we put some more lubricants on it. I think it needs a tap. Get me hammer. Okay, the camera is going to be a bit shaky, just bear with me. It's pretty tight, isn't it?
What the hell, Andy?
Right, I'm going to get my verniers and just double check that this is a 10, because this shock should have been supplied with a 10mm eyelet. But I just have a sneaky suspicion it could be the eyelet that's a fraction too small. Because even with that burr gone, it just seems to be very tight on the actual shoulder there. I can always run a 10mm drill bit through here carefully just to make sure it's the right size. If you look inside, you might just see where it's picked up, just inside there, look. So it's not ideal. I want it to be able to be serviceable in the field, should we have any problems. And at the moment, it's not ideal. Okay, verniers are zeroed. Let's see what size it gives us. There you go, look, 10.03. So basically that's bang on 10mm. What have we got in the eyelets? Let's have another look. Oh god, swarf and all sorts on here. Let's have a little look. 10.2. You see it's a lot smaller. Oh, there we are, look, 10.001. Okay, well I'm going to put a 10mm drill bit through this just in case, just to make sure that it's all, you know, it's exactly the right size. Right, brand new 10mm drill bits out of the box, so we get a nice accurate cut. Okay, hopefully not a lot will come out. Oh, there was a little nick then. See that? Okay, well that is 10 mil. Back to the bike. Right, a bit more lube. Dum dum dum. Dum 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 dum. There we go, look. Perfect. Okay, fingers crossed this is going to work this time. Okay. Right, doesn't matter any difference which way around it goes, does the same job. I've got slightly more of a bush protruder, do it that way around I think. More clearance. Okay. There we go, super. Right, so the one washer at the bottom with the nut. We'll just do these finger tight for now, and I'll tighten them all up at the end. Big washer, small washer, and of course the nut. Remind me to tighten these up, very important. Right, other side. Okay, this one's about the same, so I'll stick him on that way. There we go, that was a lot easier, wasn't it? No burrs on this side. Just when they cut the thread, I think. Just quality. Nobody had checked. The machine probably put the shocks on, so. Okay, right. Now, where's that socket? Give these a tweak. Not sure what the torque setting is. I've not been supplied the service manual for this bike yet. So we'll just do a internal torque setting. Click. There we go. Right, other side. Click. Click. Perfect. Okay. We need to take another measurement. It's considerably less, isn't it? Jeez, I hope this is going to work. Okay. We're going in. Hang on. Adjust my tool a little bit. Can you see? I think you can see. I've just had a notification come through, so I can hardly see the screen now. Okay, so that's what we've got from the flat to the point. Okay, we've got a measurement from the base of here, that's top of the tyre, to that peak there. So we'll measure that distance there, look. Back to the bench. Well, seems we've got the vernier calipers out now. Let's just zero that. That'll give us an even more accurate measurement. And then we're just going to measure across there to there. Right, we have 56.3 millimeters. Hopefully you can see that on the screen okay. I don't know, can you? There you go, change the focus. Perfect. 56.3. 56.3 millimeters. That's a huge drop, isn't it? Where's my crankulator? Okay, so we've got 130 minus 56.3. That's a reduction of 73.7. Wow. Millimeters. That's a huge drop in seat height. I think this is going to be very, very close. And like I said before, we don't want in any way for that rear tyre to catch on the inner guard when the shocks are fully compressed. What we can do now is remove the jack, at least get the bike sat under its own weight. I can pull down on the seat a bit to, you know, replicate some weight on there. I can even sit on the bike and we can film the gap. I mean, if I can sit on it, which is probably beyond its maximum load capabilities, and there's still a gap, we should be okay. Jeez. At least the seat height's going to be nice and low. Here we go. Jeez. It's so close. Holy moly. Right. There we go. Wow. Okay, here goes. Just pushing down on the seat. Let's see how much it's going to move. Oh, that's rock solid. There's hope yet. Okay, I'm going to lower the hoist down. We'll get the camera set up. You guys can watch the gap between the tyre and the inner guard with me sat on the bike. The ultimate test. There it goes. We've got some movement. Going down the track, open your hop on bump. Feels pretty good. Well, I've just reviewed the footage and there's a bit more movement than what I originally planned, or anticipated at least. However, some pretty good news. There does appear to still be a gap between the top of the tyre and the inside of the mudguard, even when I'm jumping up and down on the bike with my particular weight. Mrs. Mechanic weighs about half as much, so that's a major bonus. These shocks actually are a pretty stiff shock. I remember when we were trying to match everything up, they couldn't go for the same spring rate. We had to go for the next spring rate stronger, which means it compresses less under the same weight, which is a good thing. I think if we'd managed to match the spring rate, this would have bottomed out. The tyre would have caught the inside of the guard. So, all in all, I think it's been a success. We will, of course, be doing a test ride, hopefully this afternoon, that's the plan, with Mrs. Mechanic riding the bike, and we'll find some nice bumpy gravel roads to go and ride down just to make sure that it doesn't bottom out. But at this point in time, it looks like we've got it about right. All that's left to do now is for me to refit the exhaust. There's no need to show that on the video. You've already seen it. What we can do now, which is the whole reason for this particular job, is to get Mrs. Mechanic in and sitting on the bike to see if, now that the seat height has been lowered so much, that she can properly touch the ground. I think she'll want a cup of tea first though. See you in a second. Okay, try that. Okay, and try putting both feet down on the ground. So you're on tiptoes, aren't you? But both feet are down. Yeah. Oh, I think we've done it. Excellent. Good job. Okay, now the ultimate test. Can you bounce up and down on the bike with both feet on the foot pegs, as if you're going down a bumpy track? Excellent. That'll do. Well, I think we've done it. Mrs. Mechanic can pretty much get both feet down on the ground, although not completely flat. We can't go any lower on the rear shocks. It really is pretty damn close. I have been told we can get an aftermarket lower seat for these bikes. Biggest problem is, compared to our old bike, which is a Yamaha SR125, which has the seat width, I mean it does taper, but the seat width is about 20 centimeters wide. Whereas on this bike it's 27 centimeters wide. Much wider seat, and that makes a huge difference on you know how much seat height you can cope with. Basically, it affects the length of your leg dramatically. So I'm hoping that the aftermarket seat is slightly more scalloped between your legs, so it's a narrower seat, and that will definitely be the last requirement really to make this bike perfect for her, because she's going on gravel roads, so she needs to be able to get both feet down just in case she's about to fall off, kind of thing, you know. What else? Yes, side stand. We've dramatically lowered the bike. There's a possibility the side stand now is too long and will need to be shortened in order to have allow the bike to be sat on the side stand safely and not too vertical. Otherwise it could blow over in the wind, or if you're on a bit of a road which is a bit, you know, bit of a weird camber, you won't be able to use the stand. Then you can't park the bike up. Then you've got to ride off again. So let's just wheel it back on the hoist a bit, take it out the wheel clamp at the front, put the stand down and see what the angle is, if any, that bike now sits at. Otherwise, if it's not enough, I'll have to cut the stand and weld it up. Right, more jobs.
Seriously, Andy? Still got that ponytail? Stop stealing my thunder.
Right, let's wring it out of the clamp. There we go. This will lock. Okay, how is that? Holy moly, that's very, very straight, upright. We just take it back to balance point, which is about there. Oh man, there's only a couple of degrees in it. That is nowhere near enough. Man, you'd be hard pushed to find anywhere to park this bike up. Holy crap. I have got some serious work to do on that stand now. More jobs. Right, back into the clamp. Get it safe. There we go. Back to the bench. So, looks like we've got the side stand to modify as well. Best crack on, because Mrs. Mechanic wants to ride the bike this afternoon, and there's no way she can go anywhere with a motorcycle that hasn't got a stand, because she won't be able to get off at the pub and have a pint. That's not on, is it? Right, come on, let's crack on. Oakley dokley. Right, we've got a side stand switch here, so be careful of that. Can't afford to break anything. Okay. So, where is the wire? Well, I can see the bolt. And the wire, can I get that out there? Yes, there we go, look. So we'll get the switch just to one side. In fact, is that a plug? No, it's just a seal. Right, it's got to stay on the wiring harness. We'll leave that alone for now. And we need a spanner for that and a spanner for the rear. Is it a 14? It is. What's the rear? That's a 14. Cool. Right, said Fred. See if we can get this cracked off. Wait! Bear with me. There we go. Yes. Wasn't quite as tight as I thought it was going to be. So this should be, normally this is a lock nut at the rear, and then it's threaded into the far side of the yoke on the stand itself. It's a bit awkward because you can't really see what you're doing. Okay, one nut, no washer. Now we need to undo that. There we go, look, yes, it's still threaded. I'm going to speed things up. How much faster was that? That's why we have power tools. Okay. I'll bring that round. Should be able to get the spring off now. There we go. Cool. Right, long end is forward. Important. Okay, we haven't got a lot to play with this because I don't want to have to modify this bit as well. So the modification is going to need to be down this end, and that way all the spring distances and stuff all stay exactly the same. How much do we take out? And the angle of the foot was also wrong. I noticed that it was sat on this part here, but as the bike leans over more, that should come back into place. So ideally we want the foot to sit, you know, flat on the ground like that. So I reckon we should we'll start off with 1/2 inch. I'll cut 1/2 inch out, so about I don't know, 13 millimeters, whatever it is, 14 millimeters, 12 and a half mil, that's right. I'll cut that out, I'll tack it together, I'll refit it and we'll see how it sits. If we need to take some more out, it's easy to do. Once we've got the length correct as we want it, then I can weld it up. Just put a bead of weld around there, respray the stand and stick it back on. Pretty simple job, but it's something that a lot of people can't do at home because they don't have a welder. Right, action stations. Right, first job before we start cutting this, and this is a good tip, is we need to mark the stand so we get the orientation of the foot correct, because once we cut this tube, it could, we could weld it in the wrong position, so it could end up sticking too far back or too far forwards on its rotation, like that. And we'll just get rid of some of the grease off the joint as well, because that's going to get all over the place otherwise. Right, now paint pen. All we need to do, and you could use your grinder if you really wanted to, but I'm just going to run a line down there, and all we do is line the line up when we put it back together again. Simple, really. Okay, I think to start off with, we should cut about 1/2 inch out of the stand. I want to be away from the bend, so it's on a point of the stand of the tube where it's parallel. So we'll cut a bit there, look, and I reckon we'll cut that there. That's usually about the right amount, but it depends on the bike. So we'll get that cut in the vise, and then we'll tack weld it and see where we end up. Time for some welding. Honestly. Close your eyes. Didn't sound good. Worked perfect. Right. Okay, let's go and check it out. Oh, I guess a little bit laborious if you have to do this more than once, to be fair, but anyway. Right, we don't need to bother putting the side stand switch on, but we do need to put this main bolt through. And we don't really need to fit the spring as long as we're super careful. And we don't need to fit the lock nut either, so it's not too bad. Right, there is the stand. Looks... in fact, you can't quite see all of it, can you? There you go, look. Looks about right. So let me get it wound back. I'll put you on the trolley again so you can see the angle of the bike. I might need to... I think it'll be okay. I think it'll work. Wheel the bike back. So it's not in the clamp at all. Turn the steering and put the stand down. Ooh, that's still quite high, isn't it? We need some more out of the stand. Probably about the same again by the feel of it. Okay. Somebody is using a chainsaw. Always seems to happen when I film a video. Somebody fires up a weed eater or a chainsaw or whatever. So annoying. Very inconsiderate. Anyway, so far we've cut out about 1/2 inch. I'm going to take about the same amount again out of the stand, and I've got about another 5mm left south of the current cut and about 15mm further up to go at, should I need to remove all of that. I want to make sure that this bike's super stable when it's parked on the side stand, because we're going to be going, you know, mountainous sort of areas. It could be quite windy. We don't want the bike blowing off the side stand. I also don't really want to have to try and or, you know, eat into where this bracket's mounted. Sure, I can relocate it, but I'd rather not, because it'll affect the way that the bike looks. It'll obviously be modified. So I'll keep chomping away. I'll get the length right. I'll weld it up, grind it all back. Not because the welds are crap, because I don't want people to realise the stand's been modified. And I'll paint it, and then we'll fit it back on the bike, and you can see what angle the bike sits at. Okay. See you very shortly. It'll be a tiny amount of time to you. It's probably going to be about 1/2 an hour to me. God damn it. You know when you start a job and you think, it won't take long to fit a couple of shocks? Well, this has been dragging on quite a bit today. However, between coats of paint, I have managed to get the ultimate farm bike special, the DR200 that we did the trip on in January, back up and running. Yeah, so I stole the battery out of it for another bike, and then I had to find another battery, which is the wrong one, but it sort of fits, and it works. It fires straight up, so looks like I'm riding the old DR this afternoon. That should be fun. Anyway, it's done. What do you reckon to that? It's not bad, is it? Looks almost untouched. There's a little bit of a ripple in there, but there's no filler. That's just the metal sanded down. So for a side stand, I am quite happy with that. It'll do the trick. Now, it is still a little bit tacky, but I need to get it on the bike. I'm running out of time. Right, I better clag some more of this on, since I wiped most of it off. That'll do, grommet. Okay. Let's see how we get on with this. The forged paint does dry pretty quick, to be honest, so it should be alright. But it might not be. I might get a fingerprint. But I think what we'll do, ultimately, is if we know it's bang on, and I don't need to make any more adjustments, then next time Mrs. Mechanic is sandblasting, I'll get her to sandblast it and I'll respray it again. But this will be proof of concept. There we go. Right, let's make sure that's nice and tight. It is. Right, nuts on the back. Oh, we should have put the spring on first, shouldn't we? Yeah, it's alright. I'll use some mole grips for that. It'll be alright. We can make it work. Right, lock nut is going on. There's the other spanner. Stick him on there. Just trying to avoid touching the stand as much as possible. Come on, get on. You're not a very good fit, are you? Chinese bolt. There we go. Right, it's got a tweak. Okay, that's that bit. Now we've got this little sensor to fit. And there's a little hole Can you see? Let's have a look. I'll show you. Way. Right. Editing is fantastic. There is. Thought I saw that mozzie again. There's a little hole just down there. It's a bit unclear on the camera, but there is one. And the little peg from the side stand switch, there, look, that peg, has to go in said hole. If you don't line it up, then when you tighten it down, you'll break it. So it'll be important, or it is important, you put it down the hole. There we go. Terrible camera work, Andy, honestly. Now, it's not easy, there's not a lot of room for this thing. There we go. It really does just to say fit. Now, there he is. Right, he's in. He's in. One bolt. Right, 8mm. Probably a torque setting of like 3 Newton meters in the factory. Anyway, that's all done. It looks like it's all working just fine. There's a little bit of drag on the switch, so it's indicating it's been turned. All we need now is Mr. Spring. And Mr. Spring goes on there. So, no grips. You're too close. Okay, I do have somewhere the proper tool for fitting springs, but can I find it? No, I cannot. It's somewhere in the workshop. So hopefully this will do the trick. It usually does. So all we need to do now is hook that under there. It's either going to end in lots and lots of pain. Oh, look at that. What a pro. Done. Excellent. Okay, coming back. Beep, beep, beep. Not too far. Right, interlock. Stand down. Boom. Look at that. That's alright, is that, I think. It takes quite a bit of effort to bring the bike back up, which is what you're looking for. Could it be any shorter? It's a lot easier to take more off than it is put it back on, right? So let's leave it as it is, test it, see how she gets on with it. If it needs a modification before the big trip, then of course it'll get it. Right, let's just stick it back in the hoist for now. Jobs a carrot. Right, so there you go, it's all done. And in total, believe it or not, these are the 3 bits that I cut out of the stand. There you go. That's probably about 25mm plus the thickness of the cutting disc a few times. So probably almost 30mm have been taken out of that stand. It's quite a chunk, isn't it? But it's done now, and I'm very pleased it's done because it's another job finished. But it has taken me quite some time, in all honesty, in between other jobs while I've been waiting for paint to dry. And oh, it's a ball ache setting up the MIG just for such a short, small piece, but it had to be done. Anyway, we are one step closer in getting the Honda Monkey 2022 monkey bike, 125cc, fuel injected, ABS, only on the front wheel, ready for the ultimate monkey trip, in all honesty. Cape Reinga to Bluff, the long way around, quote. Mrs. Mechanic's going to zigzag away around New Zealand, clocking up the Ks, covering gravel roads, tracks, rivers, footpaths, basically anywhere she can get from A to B. And the most interesting way, she'll be staying off the main roads and as much tarmac as possible. She will be staying off. You know, gravel roads are the key for those kind of trips. And that trip's going to happen in March next year, 2023. Fingers crossed. With this bike, possibly. There is another offer, actually, in the wings that hasn't yet been confirmed. So have to wait and see. You know, if they're going to supply a bike and pay for the whole trip, then it keeps the monkey right, doesn't it? You know, but I would like to see the monkey do the trip. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, and my apologies if it dragged on a little bit, but there was a bit more work to do than what I originally planned, why not click the like button, leave a comment, you know, give me the thumbs up. Why not subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and that way, you know, you're not going to miss any future videos, and you won't miss the trip on the monkey bike. If you're into motorcycle trips, then watch out, because we've got the DR200 Ultimate Farm Special, it's called now. The first farm bike, fully spec'd farm bike, top speed of 60 kilometers an hour to travel from Cape Reinga to Bluff, nearly 4,000 kilometers. A trip that I did back in January this year. The Christmas special first episode is all planned to hit the channel just before Christmas, because it's a Christmas special. You know, it's sort of the right time, isn't it? Anyway, that's the plan. If you want to contact me, you can do that through, well, you'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can also flick me an email, andymechanic@live.co.uk. The email address is in the description. And, well, if you want to support the channel, many have, we'd like a few more, to be fair, you can do that through PayPal or Patron. And again, there are links on the home page of the channel in the banner. You can click on those, or also I believe it's in the description as well. I will double check. Okay, crew, it's time now for me to get my bike gear on, find a helmet, go and get some fuel from the local petrol station, and go for a ride with Mrs. Mechanic. Can't wait. Catch you next time. Cheers. Over and out.
And we get the flip up again.
Oh!
Really.